It's an absolutely fascinating and compelling narrative. It's literally classical Greek tragedy. A man has an ambition, and that ambition doesn't end up ennobling him, it ends up corrupting him. And tragedy then ensues. So it has a very classic, tragic shape, if you like. So I was then sent a screenplay. The screenplay was written by a very great writer called Scott Burns, who's American, and his perspective was very interesting. He took this very archetypal English story and viewed it, I think, from a very detached point of view, and there was able to kind of cut through some of the sort of baggage of the story and distill it into something really, really strong and compelling to read. So once I read Scott's screenplay, which had a very interesting perspective on the unraveling of a human mind, which is again part of this story, I was sort of won over by the script and really wanted to do the film. Colin was already interested in doing the film when I joined the project, and once I realised that, I thought, this is just too good to be true. I could not have looked at another actor as the actor I would have cast. And so when I know he was very interested in doing it, I was thrilled. Also, I felt that as an actor, he invites sympathy, both just because the way his sort of persona, if you like, and I felt that he would be the person to take us on this very, very dark journey. The story starts very optimistically and ends in a state of madness. Rachel is an actress I've always been wanted to work with, to be honest. I think she's great. And so, and there's a sort of interesting physical connection you can make between them. Just they don't look alike, but they're in the same sort of spectrum of humanity, if you like, as is Donald and Colin, which is just helpful in a way. But that's not what you're casting. You're casting Rachel because she's a very surprising actress, and she's one of those actors that just surprises you and does things you don't quite expect her to do, and then that flushes out other things in other actors. I love working with her. She really relies on instinct. She doesn't really like to do lots of rehearsal or to commit to things, and then fix them and do them over and over again. She wants to always be loose and to respond, and I love that style of work from her. It was just a pleasure to work with her. David Thewlis loved to improvise, and quite a lot of his stuff is improvised, in fact. He got that character down so well, Rodney Hallworth, that it was a joy to watch him riff, because he was the character. He'd show up on the set and he'd be in character, enjoying being in character, and he would then riff off of what Scott had written in a very beautiful way. We didn't think of ever doing it any other way, to be honest. I worked with Eric Gautier, the DP, and that was the first thing we were going to do. We're going to go out and do it for real, of course. And Colin was exactly of the same mind. We couldn't just, we had to go out and film at sea and experience this and enjoy the motion of the boat and shoot the motion of the boat and shoot a man on his own boat. That was the job. And so, and in a sense, that was quite a interesting way of filming, because it's a small, it's more like a documentary, a little unit of people on that trimaran, not very many people, the bare minimum, and Colin, and it makes that collaboration with Colin so interesting when he's on. There's no other actors involved, it's just Colin and us, a small stripped down crew. Many people who remember the departure, it was a big event in a small town on the coast of Devon, and so there were lots of people who came up to us and remembered his departure, remembered being around when he was preparing the boat the week before he left. And we had lots of extras that we used in Timoth. Half the town showed up to help us with the film. And it was it was one of those very nice situations. We felt very welcome there. People were happy to have us there.
La vita merita di essere vissuta. La domanda diventa: fino a che punto sei disposto a spingerti per darle un senso?